What happens when the goddess of pleasure, desire, money, and love flows to the north node of fate in the sign of Pisces? Well, at the same time, Mars is operating as a backup unit, bringing us directionality, choosing and decisions that can allow for some worldly success or an increase of that which we desire. That's this week ahead as we approach New Year's Eve. We're going to see Mars and Venus both waking up that north node in the sign of Pisces. And some of this is particularly rare, for the north node in the sign of Pisces only sits there every 18 to 20 years. And so in that sense, we can count on this being highly important in terms of focusing on a new direction, taking actions and making decisions, but also getting that Venusian energy running in our lives, pleasure, joy, what we truly desire, what we wish to experience as in wealth or in money or in love. So I like the vibe as we go into the new year, because it literally, as New Year's Eve approaches, we have some of these very powerful energies playing out. Again, there is a rarity there. So we'll talk about some of that rarity as we get going today. But I want you to know that I think this is a really great kind of sky for you. Although I will caveat that with one small detail, with Venus and Mars both being invisible and not visible again until February and later for Mars in March, seeds are being planted for destined fated success in your life this week ahead. You may see the fulfillment of it later on. Welcome to my channel. If you are new, my name is Lori Lothian, and I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac whole sign houses. And you guys know my gig, fixed stars and minor asteroids. And I love, love, love giving you astrological guidance to help you time your best life. So I know a lot of you don't like me over promoting, but some of you are here for the first time. So if you haven't seen my all signs bundle and you haven't gotten a hold of that yet for your year ahead, listening for sun, moon, and rising, or share with friends and family, or even just your individual sign, those are still on sale. I'm going to keep that sale price going through January because a lot of people have asked me to do that. So check it out below. It's my love gift to you guys, and it's my fundraiser for equipment, scholarship funds, and more. Now we're going to talk about the week ahead. And also, I'm going to put a little fun ad up. Bing! This shares a bit about what I think about this vibe of timing our best 2026, just before we go into the all signs. So stay tuned for a little fun ad that I had a friend, a guy I'm working for me make. It's just kind of fun. Let's go ahead. Let's talk sky. So the sky is a mirror of reality. It's not causing things to happen. We're not under a causal influence. It's mirroring what is happening, what has happened, and what will happen. Now, there's two cycles going on this week that are extremely important. Venus is getting ready to die in the sun's heart. And we are talking about the week of January the 29th to the 4th of January, December the 29th to the 4th of January. Venus is getting closer to the sun and getting ready to die in the sun's heart January 6th. Mars is getting closer to the sun and getting ready to die in the sun's heart on January 9th. I'll be doing big videos about that as we get into the first week of January. Right now, this week ahead, other than the glorious, super lucky, turbocharged dog star is Jupiter infused lunation that's occurring on the 3rd of January, which is Saturday in my time zone. That video came out yesterday, which is Sunday. So go back and watch that luckiest lunation of the year video, because it really is a beautiful, unfortunate lunation on January the 3rd. But rather today, we're focusing primarily on the actions of Mars and Venus. Now, for Venus to go into this connection to the sun in Capricorn is every 4 years. It's not that rare. You last saw this happening around January as well of 2022, 2018, 2014, 2010, and go back 4 years. And when she co-joins the sun here every 4 years in Capricorn, she sets in motion a new plan for your life that you usually see unfold within 1 year. And the plan will be, where do you want to be more grounded, resourceful, resilient, enduring and lasting, Capricorn words, in love, in money, matters of your life, and in pleasure as well. And when we talk about Mars coming into the heart of the sun on January 9th, this week he's getting less and less visible as he approaches that. We talk about a cycle that's much, much rarer. Okay, we're talking about a cycle where the last time he went through this part of our sky and woke up the sun, like in Capricorn, knock, 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 I'm here, goes all the way back until 1994 and 1995. And Before that, like 1979, 1980. And therefore, we have a very rare conjunction of Mars with the sun. And it's even rarer when you pair Venus with it. That does take us back to longer, 1994, 95. But in the meantime, I hope I didn't miss one because my brain just went, is that really the last conjunction? Let me just double check my math. Absolutely, exactly when I said it was. And sometimes because I'm a teaching astrologer for the most part, I do like to share with you guys what I'm talking about. So let me just give you a little example with this like picture here of how those energies have played out historically. You know, Mars in Capricorn bumping into the sun in Capricorn goes back to these dates of 1914. 1947, 1979, 1993. And here we are in 2026. And the important thing to notice about this is that even though these dates are here and there's a degree and all of that, what it really means is that Mars is resetting himself in the heart of the sun and as a 2-year time frame of differences, changes, decisions, and redirections in your life, cutting, severing, ending, whatever. Changes will happen. So Mars does this joining with the sun in Capricorn, and then you add 2 years. So we're talking about the week of January the 9th, but we're building up for it. And it's going to be a very important video that I put out that week. And I have a Mars webinar on January the 8th to understand this cycle in your life and to use it. So please think about joining that webinar. In the information box below my video is how to sign up. But importantly to me, is that it's only in the 1993 December 27th conjunction, followed by a January conjunction by Venus, that we have Venus and Mars in a triple conjunction. So it's going to be an exciting one to talk about because a lot of our life individually and collectively is going to take us back to whole of calendar year 94 and 95 in how we experience our lives in 2026 and 27 because of the Venus and Mars cycle in a triple conjunction with the sun. But today we're not there yet. We're building for that. And this is a nice week because Venus gives a little bit of a snuggle and a wink over to the North Node of destiny and fate and increase. And also Mars does the very same thing. And so both of these planets are trying to align us with a fated, destined area of reality. It's the same place in the sky, Pisces, where we've been going through eclipses since September of 2024. And we're going to take note of how this looks in your sky as we talk about the vibe of the week ahead. And I'll show you the chart. The dates are not as important as the energy field of it all. But if you need to know, Mars will sextile the North Node more precisely on Wednesday in my time zone, which is New Year's Eve. And also Venus will then flow to the North Node of fate, increase in destiny, volume up, and worldly success on January 3rd. So we kind of have like a January 1st, January 3rd, or a Wednesday, Saturday, 1-2 punch of some kind of fated, destined dream, wish, goal, desire, well, like, you know, money and love, Venusian archetype with Mars helping us like steer the ship. You know, what direction do we need to go in? What decisions shall we make? And we may make some very important decisions this week. Just because Mars is invisible doesn't mean the decision making in our lives stops. He decides by cutting things in two, go to the left or the right. You cannot walk two paths at once unless you're a saint. So we don't bifurcate here. So that means that there will be some major life decisions that you're going to choose or decide or make this week ahead. And then you may then take action on it later on in late February, mid-February into March when Venus and Mars are visible. So it's a pivotal turning point. You know, it's like when you see a ship on the ocean and pivotal fated destined turning point. That's what I'm going to call this video. It's a pivotal fated turning point. It is a destined pivotal fated turning point. Okay, why? Because the decisions you make now, when Mars and Venus are invisible, getting ready to unite with headquarters, the sun, the week of, you know, on January 6th and 9th, are like the seed that goes into the rebirth. There is going to be some changes that you're going to make some decisions on, and they will become enlivened by divine intelligence, headquarters, divine mind, the sun next week after, right? So it's a two-part story, but watch for those decisions and opportunities to happen this week. So pivotal, destined turning point week ahead through the mechanism of decisions, actions, and redirections. You may not take the new directions, but you know which direction you're going. I was going to say, it's like, you know, a ship on the ocean, you know, say it's traveling across the Atlantic, and then the the captain of the ship says, let's navigate like 2 degrees to the left or right. Well, the shore you land on, guys, is completely different, right? Because over time, over distance, that 1 or 2 degree shift of direction will land you on a very different landing spot. Okay, when the ship finally hits a shore. So the best I can say is it feels to me like we're pivoting the way we can we maybe pivoted a bit like this in like December and January of 93, 94, and our life went in a new direction over the 2 years that followed. Same thing is happening this week ahead. So it may seem like a calm week, but it's a very profound, deep pivoting energy at a fundamental level. And second of all, I want you to know that Mercury is having a hard time this week. Mercury is those conversations you're going to have with people, emails and phone calls, texts, or even your ideas. But we can say the word speech is hard. Communication is hard. There may be misunderstandings. There may be hard words spoken. There may be frustration in getting your message across. Mercury squares Saturn on Tuesday. Mercury squares Neptune for confusion on Thursday. So it's kind of in the backdrop, a separate story really is how Mercury is having to come into challenges with these roadblocks in communication. Let me show you the chart of the week, okay? All right, so it would be good to be in the now. Here we are in the now. On December the 26th is the day I'm recording for you. And before we get to the week ahead, you can see, well, let's just get to the week ahead. And I will take out all the detritus here, which means I got too much junk in the trunk. We want to take out all the things we really don't need to focus on because we're not doing a natal chart sky for anybody here. Let's just clean it up for everybody, okay? And then let's move us forward by days. So we get into the beginning of the week next week. So here we have Monday, the 29th of the month. And you'll see that at the time, we're going into Mercury finishing the last degrees of Sag. And that means he's squaring Neptune and Saturn. Again, it could be frustration with anything to do with trying to message or communicate or talk or speak or email or phone call or get an idea across. And then there's going to be some hardship, some constraints, some constrictions, some blockage, maybe confusion as well, thanks to Saturn and Neptune together. And so information could also come to you this week and Tuesday and Thursday as well. That's going to feel disappointing or difficult. Like you'll feel like someone burst your little bubble with that news or information that comes through the Sagittarius sky. Now, Mercury's moving quickly. It doesn't last a long time, but you can expect maybe, Tuesday and Thursday, or let's just say Monday to Friday, this vibe coming through our sky. I'll describe it when I get to your sign. And if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. I would so appreciate that. The next thing I want you to be aware of and really focus on here is the idea that Venus and Mars are doing a very important preparation for their conjunctions with the sun on January 6th for Venus, January 9th for Mars. And as they are getting ready to be reborn, and that's the asteroid Quo-Or, which is the Neptunian, trans-Neptunian celestial body that is about creating something brand new in a way that no one has ever done before. It's a creation god of the tongue of a people, and it has to do with breaking the rules and doing it your own way, creating things in ways that no one has done before. So keep that energy in mind as we see this playing out in the Capricorn part of your natal chart. And we can notice that in this case that we have the energy of Mars on Wednesday, right? Talking to the North Node of Fate. And I really like this. And if you like this kind of content, by the way, did I say, would you mind subscribing? Please, it helps the channel grow. It is a big deal in the algorithm and whether this channel is sustainable. I'm going to do a little annotation for you. So this is what we call the North Node, that horseshoe. That's all about the fated, destined increases, volume up, worldly success, striving for success in our lives. And this is the South Node, the opposite, spiritual surrender, letting go, releasing, the portal to the multidimensional and your past lives. Now, they're in opposition to each other, so both sides are always like teeter-tottering. We don't want to lose ourselves to the dragon's head, Rahu, because we're craving experiences that are illusory. It's like Neo in the Matrix storyline, but with Cypher, who gets the steak and the wine and the cigar because he'd rather be in the cravings for the illusory. This is the real and the true. This is the spiritual depths of who we all are. But we still live a life in the Matrix, and the North Node brings us the things that we crave, desire. It also brings us worldly success in a lot of times. So we do want to have a North Node. And you'll notice that both Venus and Mars are in an approach. Let's call it an approach. So time zone dependent, Monday and Tuesday, Mars. You could even have felt it Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, Mars is applying to the north node of worldly increase, followed by Venus next. And Venus gets into the same condition. I'd say she's pretty ramping up there on, let's move our chart forward. Well, that's the problem when you annotate, you lose the move forward button. We'll do it. And then Venus is moving forward here. And now she's hooking up with the north node on January the 1st. But you'll feel it on December 31st, January 1st, maybe January 2nd. So you see how the sky is like a 1-2 punch. To me, that's good. Mars says, I'm taking some action and decision-making power, applying to your fated, destined turning points, pivotal points in life. Venus is following up with, and it brings me joy, pleasure, money, and love, all the Venusian pleasures of life. Now, as they do this, we're also flowing to the south node, obviously, because that's behind them, but they're applying to the north node, and that's the energy where the most potency is, right? It's got the most intensity, it's got the most potency as they're both in an applying direction, like as if they're facing the north node and moving towards it. So I like that energy. And of course, we still have this problem over here, that kind of confusion about what's real and what's not, what you can make steadfast and concrete and what you can't. We're going to tie it all together. And of course, what we end up getting is called a wedge. The oppositional energy between the nodes of fate are wedging out, wedgie, with the motion of Venus and the Mars story. And of course, even the sun is involved in trining the north node because the sun is here as well. So everybody sextiling the north node is a very positive sky. Okay, very positive sky. So we're going to go ahead and do your sign. And by the way, here's that little ad that my guy made for me. Just a little fun thing to give you the vibe of the 2026 All Signs Bundle in case you want to buy that right here. And there's a discount for that if you go ahead and use this thing that's going on over here. Anyway, we still have the sale price going. And then let's go ahead and do the all signs next. If I was to tell you that we're going to have 2026 start off pretty soon in the beginning of the year with a 6,000 year reset button, would you be interested? Because that reset button is ignition for your life at 0 Aries, and we haven't seen it for a long time. Neptune, the god of your imagination, who lays the tracks for your reality train to follow, is accompanied by Saturn, the god of time, the god of karma, and the one who makes things real in this matrix. And when those two are joined together at 0 degrees of Aries, we'll see a shift in our ability to manifest a reality that we are wanting to see individually and collectively. Now, to use that energy, it's important to know how to listen for that energy, sun, moon, and rising sign perspectives. And I cover that in my 2026 All Signs Bundle, how you can harness that new ability to make your dreams real. It's not easy. I'm not going to pretend it is. Saturn makes it particularly hard, but there is a way to use that part of the sky to your benefit in 2026. And so I'm inviting you to check out my 2026 All Signs Bundle. And some of you might even notice that if you listen for your sun, moon, and rising, you're going to have some fixed positions, some cardinal positions, right? And some mutable signs as well. So take a gander and do all of those and take a peek at how that might work for you in 2026 to navigate your best life, knowing that Saturn and Neptune are on to a whole new story for your sign in the week ahead. So let's bring up our chart. Let's get rolling. And let's see what pivotal, destined turning points occur for you this week with the deepest understanding that you will likely not actually see the full manifestation of this, although you're turning that ship on the ocean towards a new shore, until you begin to move through mid-February for Venus's visibility and Mars's visibility in mid-March. So you need to understand the longer arc in order to understand that nothing happens overnight. But I kind of feel like we'll know. I kind of feel like you'll know this week ahead, and perhaps that Mercury square Saturn and Mercury square Neptune is giving you the information that might be difficult, but you need to know or need to hear in order to make these turning point decisions. Okay. I can't even say the word turning point anymore without getting caught up in that, that company that's made all the headlines when its leader died. Turning point is a word that's got challenges already, a phraseology, I should say. We're going to start with Aries. This is my Monday drop. of the week ahead astrology. It's never long. It's usually on the shorter side. If you like this kind of stuff, please don't forget to like and subscribe and check the notifications and all that stuff. And by the way, I have something I was going to say to you guys. So I got this really mean email recently about me promoting my stuff and they unsubscribed. And that's why everyone's unsubscribing. And then it was like Ian had a dig that I had what kind of content on my members only YouTube section. It was clickbaity, and it was just a really mean email. I decided to do, I sent that person a free all signs bundle. And I realized, when people are targeting you with anger or aggression or mean spirited energy, it really wasn't constructive. It was just really a jabby email. Sometimes the best thing to do is to send love back. I never heard back from her. If you're out there, the person who did that, I really hope you have a better 2026. So here we are, Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. Aries, this sky for you is going to open up an amazing career shift. I want you to really understand that you are like going to be in an entirely new shoreline 2 years from now. You're being redirected by a navigational turning point of destined fated means in the 10th house of career related to your 12th house. Now, because the 12th house can mean international monies coming from foreign people, foreign companies, barter trade, digital income, borderless revenue, and all of that, there's a strong possibility that the way you make money may connect to the themes that I'm saying. If they already do, you're going to change some more ways that you do this international revenue. If it's not a part of your wheelhouse yet, Aries, it might become so. The other thing about the 12th house is that it could also move you to another country in the next 2 years or to a distant shore from where you currently live. Like if I live on the west coast of the United States and I move to, New York City, that's a distant shore. And so there may be a relocation that pivots not only career, but the way you earn money and where you currently and where you live. This destined pivot point is also connected to possibilities around things that you wish to realize at a spiritual level connected to your purpose. And there may be a deeper unveiling of your true calling or purpose in life through sort of a spiritual meditative dream or reflection at night, something along the, or alone in your alone time. Because this is all happening in your 10th house where Venus this week and Mars are going to apply pressure to the North Node, I would also notice that in the backdrop, we have that Mars square Saturn, Neptune. And so in the background, there's some kind of reality check through information or news. They could look like something you could have felt it Sunday too, starting Sunday through to about January 2nd, Sunday behind us. You have some information or you have some news or you have some kind of discussions or whatever that require hard, realistic choices to be made in alignment with your highest visions. Yet, on the other hand, there may be some disappointment from somebody connected to a foreign land, a shore, maybe some travel plans that are getting squelched, just a small irritation, that kind of thing. Pay attention to your dreams at night. Mercury is definitely able to give you dream messages during this week ahead. Now, the last thing I want to say, as the sun is sextile in the North Node of Fate, first time in 18 plus years, the sun is the ruler of a part of your sky that has to do with your creative, artistic, entrepreneurial, joyful endeavors. And for some of you, given the career placement of the sun, it's asking you to find joy. Life is meant to be joyful, but so is vocational path. You're supposed to be inspired and enthusiastic, like a creative artist having a blast. If you're not, this kind of sky is going to try to make changes that show you how you can be worldly successful and prosperous while you also are creative, artistic, enthused, and joyful in the work. Venus wants that for you as well. All said and done, this sextile from Venus to the North Node can increase your wealth from your career path because Venus is the ruler of your second house of money. And so, but you're making pivotal changes that will increase the wealth you make in the career path. Look for evidence of those pivotal turning point decisions and newfound clarity that emerges on the 29th of January or 28th, 29th of January through to January the 4th. And a reminder, if you watch the intro, this takes you back to a theme of Mars and Venus in Cap with the sun like this. There's a lot like calendar year 94, calendar year 95. And that's also going to be fully resetting itself January 6th and 9th. So you're getting ready for that reset. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, what a week. We have the backdrop of the disappointment here, or the hard reality, or the difficult conversation. It may involve friendship circles, money, betrayals. It could involve other people's money, inheritance monies, details around credit cards and financing and debt-related stories. That's where Mercury is sitting as this week unfolds, and he comes into that square to both Saturn and Neptune. And most active, I'd say, Sunday through to Friday. And you just might have some difficult conversations about money matters with somebody, or even money matters connected to your career gains and profitability of some sort. It doesn't last a long time. It's a backdrop. And if you have any difficult conversations with someone in your friendship circles or groups this week ahead, it may involve the word secrets. And that might be just productive rather than difficult. But sometimes anytime we talk about things that are hidden from each other, we can find it a challenging conversation. End of story. Now, this thing here between Venus and Mars is important. It's a harbinger of what's to come. It's going to be a beginning of a beginning as you turn a corner in the 9th house, and you're moving that 9th house turning point into fated destined increases and worldly success in your 11th house of good spirit, which is windfalls, pennies from heaven, gains and earnings in your career, rewards of your career, influence over groups of people, even micro celebrity and celebrity. And the North Node wants to increase your success here, while at the very same time, the pivots are coming through Venus and Mars. Mars will pivot the energy with new actions, decisions, and redirections on most acutely on, Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. So pay attention to that. That will be in my time zone, December 31st, January. No. All right. It will be happening like December 31st, New Year's Eve, and January 1st. So look to what goes on there as you make this incredible pivot at a deep level. And you might not take full action until March anyway, but you can feel it coming, right? Something's got to change. And Venus is doubling down on that as well, following through closer to January 1st to the 4th as she activates January, 2nd, 3rd, 4th kind of thing. She activates Synodic fate as well. So you can really feel that she wants to bring you that joy, that pleasure, that prosperity, that wealth, and that love. If you're single, there may be a new relationship that can come because you meet a foreigner, you're traveling to foreign places, friends, allies, and benefactors, groups of belonging, and social events could put you in proximity to a fated, destined new love story for single Taurians, especially if you're choosing international travel, higher educational settings for that connection. If you have any legal court matters where it's going to result in a payout of money that feels like you won the lottery or a windfall, then we see that story moving in directions that pivots are turning around this week for you to take actions and make decisions to see that prosperity from court matters coming to your favor. And also we can even see that we have the sun also angling into the North Node all week long. And this is opening up your 4th house. And it could be many things. Some of you might find this is going to help you relocate your domicile where you live to somewhere that brings you more joy, pleasure, and prosperity. And it also might be a new work situation as well, thanks to Venus's 6th house rulership. So new changes in domicile, home, and work environments are on the menu. And the pivot is this week. Decisions you make, actions you take are here. Ask yourself what you truly desire in life, and then let everything unfold from there. But what do you deeply and truly desire? Lastly, some of you might be propelled to educate yourself, especially with Jupiter looking on from the 3rd house. This could open you up to desires for new paths in education. And more than a few of you might go to school for the first time, higher education in particular, back to school for some of you older people. Will you do that right away? No, but February and in March, all the action begins to happen where maybe the applications go in, maybe the decisions are being made, maybe you're scouting the schools, that kind of thing. So education would be a beneficial expression of this because the long game, it will help you refine your longer range goals and dreams about your career path, and will also bring you more prosperity. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, what we have happening here is a bit of a backdrop story, first of all, lingering pretty well all week long, Monday through Friday, but feeling it pretty acutely in with Mercury's storyline, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, difficult conversations, hard news. We have to move ourselves back. I apologize because we're losing Mercury. That's not a problem. We're just going to go back a few days. And that's the Mercury, right? Squaring Saturn and Neptune. So it's possible that you might find that you have a very difficult conversation with a client, a customer, someone in your audience. That's your seventh house, a business partner, or with a significant long range partner person in your life, someone you've been in a relationship for a long time. I mean, Mercury's not in great shape here. There may be lots of confusion in the communication, and you're not sure what the other person means, especially a spousal type connection. And you're like, can you clarify? And it could be also connected to the stature of the relationship. What is our status? Are we getting married, divorced, single? How are we calling this in the public eye? And those conversations might feel a little bit difficult. If you're looking at signing a new contract to do with work and a job opportunity, that's fine, but read the fine print that, Mercury can't see, have an expert look at the contractual agreements. Because it could be a dream come true, career, a contract, just get a lot of fine print, magnifying glass on the details so you don't make mistakes based on foggy conceptions of what's being offered to you in a business deal arrangement this week ahead. But on the other hand, we have a stellium of, secretly hiding out planets here in your eighth house. This is an occult mysteries house, psychic abilities, paranormal experiences, and also taxes and monies and investments and chunky money. And in our modern world, like revenue from ad revenue from Google or money from a royalty and comes from, book publishing or even insurance payouts and stuff like that. Now, these inheritances, spousal shared resources, separation and divorce money. Now you got the lay of the land. That's where the stellium is happening here. And it's going to be a week in which around Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Mars is going to be really tightly activating the North Node of fate, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And there needs to be some work-related changes, some career-related changes that are about the money story connected to the career story. With flow from Jupiter, it looks like it's going to be beneficial in the long run, but you need to make some changes and decisions have to happen. At the same time, Venus is doubling down on what Mars is up to and offers her 2 cents because she wants to bring you pleasure and joy and what you desire connected to worldly success, especially if it involves money. And she is a money goddess. So Venus adds her 2 cents to the story. You really feel it lighting up the sky as she aligns with the North Node, and you'll feel her more active potentially January the 1st to the 4th. And what she's trying to do is back up Mars. And I think that you'll see that with Venus here in her boss babe shoulder pads, you're going to find some kind of pivotal turning point destined to increasing your financial gain from your work and career space. And especially useful if you're artistic or entrepreneurial. Thank you for Venus's 5th house rulership. And also very helpful as well from Mars's perspective to make a pivot in your career path, maybe a change of job, a change of career, or a change of the way you do the work you do. And these decisions are very active, and the clarity is trying to emerge for you in this December 29th to January 4th week. The sun, who's also flowing to the North Node, is the ruler of your 3rd house. This is good for those of you who wish to market, sell, teach, write, and increase your financial success. Especially also good for those of you who are in the online digital world with social media. This is a nice turning point energy that allows for more success financially through how you harness the realm of the digital and online world. You'll see the pivot happening in January. You'll see that 1 week, I should say, December 29th to January 4th, and you'll see it begin to open up its flower of possibility where you see the fruits of this week. In mid-February as Venus is visible and mid-March as Mars becomes visible. So it's the beginning of a longer change story. Well, it would help if I wasn't whipping around the chart by day, day by day. I'm just going to take a little water break and I'll be right back. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And if you're into the All Signs bundle or individual signs, $22 or $55, more about that in the description box below. Boy, does water make a difference. I am one of those girls who drinks like 8 glasses of water a day. Oh, my messy desktop. And we're moving into our next sign, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. Holy man, like what's about to happen in your 7th house of long-term committed love is going to take you back to 1994 and 1996. That said, this is not quite there yet. That we have to wait till next week after this one. But this week ahead on the 29th to January the 4th, you're going to see the seeds are being planted for massive changes in how you approach your audience, your clients in your marketplace, as people you serve in the public, but also connections to things that might be about a long-term marriage type relationship. Or if you're single, the possibility of bringing in that type of love story, wow, in your life for the next 2 years. However, this sort of fated, pivotal, destined turning point week ahead has to do with how both Venus and Mars are applying to the North Node of worldly success in your 9th house of God. Now, this is not necessarily about God because it does involve churches, of course, religious institutions, but also the dharmic path, the spiritual purpose of life, the meaning of life, and aligning to that true north in the compass of life. So some of you might be finding that this is going to be a pivotal turning point week in which you want to realign with a fated, destined direction to do with meaning and purpose. Or for some of you, publications, including book publishing, or even a call for academic success, and even returning to or engaging in higher academic learning. You may not do it this week, but you might be thinking about learning. You might be thinking about applying or taking a course or being mentored or guided by somebody. And you might be this week ahead seeing the first pieces of the puzzle come together for what like maybe a turning point that may last 2 years. And then we'll take you back to 94 and 95, 1994, 95 as well. The energy of the backdrop of the week, though, is interesting because with the energy of Mercury, let's put him back in Sag where he belongs. With, sorry about that, guys. We need to move him back into the right place. I keep getting too far ahead of the game here. With Mercury in the beginning of the week, right? We're going to feel this energy of his square through to through till January 1st. So Monday through to January 1st, Mercury is squaring Saturn, Neptune, allowing for difficult conversations to emerge connected to work, job, health, pets, rental property agreements, and maybe something to do with 9th house people, places, and things. The 9th house has certain meanings in your chart. It could be a mentor, a guide, a spiritual teacher. It could be something to do with travel plans for work, or it could be something to do with legal matters at work. All of these factors are kind of jumbling up together, and you're going to find conversations that are challenging underway. Now, hang on. For some of you, it could also look like a chance for you to get a reality check of some sort regarding what your potentials are in a, say, 9th house story, like book publishing or academic success or legal and court successes. And you might be coming into a bit of a disappointment this week where you realize things are not as going to go as swell as you had hoped. And sometimes that Mercury is just the news that tells you what's not working, where you might have to face some bubble or bursting or popping, and getting some information or news that contributes to that. It's not a really dark story by any means. It's just a very gnarly, difficult vibe Monday through to Thursday. Then we talk back to these two again. Okay. If you're in a relationship, in your long-term relationship, you're in one of those, I think, especially with Mercury moving into Capricorn, there's going to be some very strong developments in the life of your significant other. It may be something going on that's very pivotal and destined and turning point energy in their life. And so the sun is also the ruler of money in your chart. So money stories connected to spouse, money stories connected to your audience and marketplace, and pivotal turnings. With Mars ruling the 10th house of career, your partner or you may have a massive pivotal change in a job career setting. And maybe the Mercury story is the bad news or the difficult news, okay, around money matters. connected to work for your partner or for you. If you have a partner, maybe they're going to lose their job or they're going to get demoted or something like that. That's the Mercury part of the Mercury problem there. I do want to say, though, that the long game story, to go back to 1994, 95, you're getting ready in a couple of weeks to reset here in a way that's going to massively change your relationship to a significant person, or their life is going to massively reset and change direction. And this could very well reset a significant other in the realm of purpose and career and job stories in their life, and also a relocation for you and or a significant other can emerge from this to a new home or a new property, all right, over the next 2 years. But you're just getting those first reset button turning. The wheels are spinning. Pivotal destined actions and redirections and decisions are happening this week ahead. You'll see evidence for the long game, because when Venus and Mars reset with the sun next week after this one, that's when it's game on. So look to mid-February and mid-March for the real action plan and the realization of some of these pivots. But pay attention to what you decide, what you choose this week, because it's a choosing part of you that's the deepest story of this week ahead. I'm technically challenged, aren't I? Hit the like button, subscribe. Don't forget to do all those fun things. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign, it is a stellium of change coming up here for you in January, but we're getting the preamble on December the 29th through until the end of this week, January 4th. And that's because Venus and Mars are joining with the sun and giving you a cosmic reset this week ahead around the actions and decisions you're going to make that are connected to what will bring you joy and pleasure and fun and prosperity in the work that you do in the world. It's also extremely useful for getting rid of food styles or addictions as well, and changing your health outcomes because of these decisions you make this week ahead, especially if you've been struggling with health connected to dietary habits and or addictions. With this energy this week, you might see that Venus and Mars, first Mars, right, in the first few days of the week. So Mars hits the sun. Mars hits the sun pretty acutely on New Year's Eve. So let's go the 31st, the 1st, and the 2nd. And then we can move Venus into the story next, where she's doing her act around January 1st to the 4th. Both of these planets are 1-2 punching you in the idea of change, decisions, actions, with a fated increase of chunky money. Now, this money of the 8th, or moving your career into the woo, psychic, paranormal, spiritual, occult mysteries, tarot, doing a career move like that. Or some of you are thinking about, okay, I want to increase my success financially from the 8th, in the 8th, which is chunks of money, shared resources with a spouse, inheritances as well. Mars rules your inheritance house. There can be a change of financial structures through those means in the next 2 years, but also a change of home, by the way, especially if you wish to rent a property out or lease a property or landlord out a property. So all these kinds of themes are in pivotal turning point mode this week ahead. And with the sun embedded here, because it wants to increase the money you have that you don't have to hustle for, less work, more money. The sun is also the ruler of you. And the sun says, okay, like, do you have fun at work? Are you enjoying your work? Is there any, sense of this is a fun place to be? If work and career things are not joyful, something is trying to change, especially with like the Monday when the moon is exalted in your 10th house flowing to Venus. I mean, something about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you guys are like, I need to change this work. I'm not having fun. Like, I got to shift it. You will see clues about the decisions and actions you should be taking this week ahead. They will bring those things into reality for you. Okay. Some of you might be quitting your job in the wake of this, especially in mid-February and then in March, to take a completely different tact or direction in your career and vocational and professional life. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Wow, what a week. What a pivotal turning point week that takes you back to 1994, 95. As I said in the intro, please watch my intros. There's a beginning of the beginning, as there's a kind of preamble. Venus and Mars are getting ready to die in the sun's heart the week after. They're old and tired, and they want something new in your 5th house of sex, romance, love, fertility, children, entrepreneurial business, and creative artistic expression. And they want to start over again, and they're planting a new seed this week so that when they die in the heart of the sun on January 6th and 9th, they've got their new idea in place, and the sun is going to help give them the mission instruction. So you've got to pay attention to some pivotal, destined decision-making energies that begin to enact themselves around the themes of the fifth house this week ahead. And because this whole thing, Mars and Venus, is applying to the North Node, some of these changes may involve your significant long-term relationship, maybe decisions around whether or not you want to have children together, maybe about the direction the marriage or love story should take, maybe things connected to whether or not this should be a live-in or a marriage or move into the next level of expression. Now, with Venus down here, it's a lucky place for her. This is a windfall energy that can be about winning money or lottery wins or something like that. Mars likes to take the risks. All of that's possible that you could come into some money here with Jupiter in the house of windfalls, or maybe a pivotal turning point financially, but you're making choices and decisions to make that possible. So it's not happening without your action and decision-making enterprise this week ahead. So at least buy the lottery ticket and see what happens. And the next thing I want to mention is with the sun in your fifth house as well, ruling your 12th house, and this is Venus in the house of pleasure. She's very sensible here in Capricorn, and she's getting a reboot and a rebirth, and the sun is there also trining the North Node. Could be some changes in your addictions to substances that are pleasurable but addictive, and there may be some shifts, decision-making and action-taking shifts ahead. Finally, I want to mention the backdrop story. There could be some conversations that are difficult in your home life, domestic life, with somebody that you live with, particularly with a significant long-term love partnership person. Or there could be some contractual legal agreements connected to home and property and real estate that run into some trouble this week ahead. I want you to think about this in terms of getting fine print looked at, make sure you see the details before you sign a contract regarding property or real estate or land. But on the other hand, conversations connected to a significant other can be challenging this week. And you might have some hard conversations in your quiet, private, domestic life with people that you live with, most likely a significant relationship partner, possibly a business partner. But these are quiet, domestic types of conversations. So keep that in mind. This is happening Monday through until Thursday already. So it's not a whole week at all. You kind of come out the other side of that after Thursday. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, it looks to me like the planetary lord of your sign is getting ready to die in the sun's heart down here. And that's exactly what happens January 6th. This is going to bring you back this week and next week to a reset button that happened in 1994-95. In other words, reliving that cycle, repetition of that energy. It might be with Mars here as well, like it was in 94 and 95, that the energy is going to be available to you this week ahead, January 29th to December 29th to January 4th, to make some pivotal decisions that are destined regarding property, land, and real estate, particularly with rental energy with the North Node. Are you wanting to travel the world and rent out your home? Are you wanting to rent a property somewhere? And the North Node can also indicate in a foreign land or distant shore as well. You might be wanting to make some major changes in the way you operate your work life in and from your home based on this sky. And you have the chance to make those pivotal decisions in this week ahead. Particularly note that Mars, the decision maker, is pretty acutely asking for that for you Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Venus follows up Thursday, Friday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. She really follows up and says, are you having fun at home? Are you having pleasure in your home? Are you being wealthy and prosperous in your work and in and from your home? Some decisions might be coming up this week ahead around animals and pets. And for the North Node of increase, it would mean getting a pet, receiving a pet, buying a pet, or planning a pet. You know how you plan a pet is you get a breeder and you ask when the next litter is coming and all of that. So some of you might be looking at pet stories as well. Now, finally, the sun is also combining forces here, and the sun rules the Leo sky, and that's your pennies from heaven windfalls house. It's not literally that you're going to get a windfall this week. No, not at all. But it's more like the sun would try to create changes in home and changes in work and changes in pets and rentals and health matters as well in your home, even getting healthy at home, finding new means to be more healthy at home. All of that could lead to more financial prosperity in the long game. And the backstory that's bothering everybody all week long through to about January 1st is Mercury square Saturn, Neptune. The combination is difficult conversations that can be confusing. This is going to be conversations with siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, neighbors, confusion, uncertainty, especially around rental property agreements, especially around pets, especially around information connected to debts and other people. And I think the conversations here just have to be worked through with a fine-tooth comb. Mercury's had no clue what the friggin' fine print says. And that's a challenge, right? Because he needs to see the fine print. Jupiter can't see it either. He's busy in your 10th house of career success. I certainly wouldn't sign a lease on a property or rent a property under this sky until after January 2nd or so, just because Mercury is also in the house of neighborhood, and quite often land, property, real estate involves neighborhoods. So just be a little more cautious around those matters. Lastly, do you have any childhood hangups that are holding you back? Like 1994, 95, you're able to excise them from your life and move on unencumbered from your childhood woundology. Hey, Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. First thing first, we see that the backdrop of the sky is about confusion and uncertainty around money. Mercury is in detriment in a money house, and he's squaring Saturn and Neptune. There may be some pleasures or activities that are fun that you want to do, but there's questions about spending and money matters. There also could be difficult conversations about money with a lover or with your children. I'd say difficult money conversations are happening for you through to January 1st. And you might have a disappointment here on a financial front connected to an entrepreneurial or creative activity. Now, that's the backdrop story. The foreground is Venus and Mars co-joining the sun. And they don't do that till the week after this one. But this December 29th, all the way through till January the 4th, is the seed planting for that, the preamble, the precursor, right? So a tired Venus and Mars are getting ready to reestablish a new story in your third house. This is really good for Scorpios who want to be their own business person, to start their own company with the North Node Saturn Neptune in the fifth house and all the stellium here. You might see some seeds being planted for starting an entrepreneurial new direction or creative artistic entrepreneurial new direction in your life. So look for those turning point moments that show up where you know which decisions are best to make. You want to have enjoyment and fun and wealth and prosperity through the following themes: social media, writing, marketing, selling, and teaching and traveling. And yet you also are connecting all of that to the North Node in the fifth house, which is an entrepreneurial house. Now, if you're single and looking for a relationship, you could get one because you're traveling, and the seeds are planted to plant trips abroad or trips domestically. Either one works here, in which you might come into dust and faded lasting love with soulmate energy. I'm twin flame, divine complement, call it what you will. But you see the pivots this week ahead, and it might be as simple as, planning a trip or signing up for a conference internationally or taking a course or traveling. And it's decisions you're making this week that really start to align you with finding the love partner of a lifetime. But if you're already partnered up, then it could also be about fertility stories. Venus rules sperm and ovum, and Jupiter's in the house of childbirth. This could be some major life turning point decisions or actions or, bedtime endeavors. Your bed pleasures is ruled by Venus. They could actually be a conception week for some of you. So if you're a Scorpio, male or female in a coupledom who wish to make a baby, I'd say that you could be making a baby and you might not even be planning for it. So if you're not looking to make a baby this week, be careful. You don't want to be surprised unless you want to be surprised. But you could be surprised with that exalted moon in the seventh house with Uranus that, hey, honey, we're pregnant. And finally, windfalls and pennies from heaven can be made here. Like you might win some money. That's a possibility, not the major one. But if you're going to win money, it's a domestic and local thing, like the local lottery, the Rotary Club, something small like that. All right. I hope you enjoyed the week ahead. Don't forget the big stories next week after that. Please tune in for that. Hit the like button and subscribe. You don't want to miss the deep dive. And even check out the webinar that I'm putting on the 8th of the month about this story, the big deep dive Mars webinar. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, you are communicating and you're probably confusing other people because, you got that Sagittarius visionary, I have a dream version of communication. It's all very glossy and inspiring and motivational, what you have to think, ideas you have, and what you have to speak and say to people. But the backdrop of the weekend through until about the 1st or 2nd of January, the vibe of Mercury squaring Saturn and Neptune, it makes it like you're having a hard time through to Thursday communicating something that people can really absorb. And in this case, it could be within your domestic and private life with the people with whom you live, including your family of origin, and conversations that are confusing or hard. Hard conversations with family members from the mom, dad, and family of origin storylines. If that's the case, there's nothing I can say to you really other than understand that people are looking for exactitude and precision in what you're trying to share with them. And if you can be more of that, things are going to go well. If you can't and you're just vague and glossing over, your communication will land on deaf ears. Alrighty. Now, the next story we have going on is the Venus-Mars setup. So Venus and Mars first, right? Pretty close to New Year's Eve, and then Venus around January the 3rd, both going to be January 2nd, 3rd, December 31st, January 1st. Both of those planets will become very tightly connected to the North Node of Fate. And this is an increase of success or wealth or even a potential move connected to money. And you might not be moving yet. You might even want to move to a distant shore or far off land, but you're seeing some beginnings of decision making this week ahead that's going to pivot you towards more financial ease, more financial success. But it's connected to property, land, and real estate with Jupiter in the 8th house, or maybe some inheritance from an elder in your family that will be coming your way, especially in the next 2 years. And maybe you see the early seeds of that. Mars is the ruler of the house of hospitals. And Jupiter's in the house of inheritances, and not that we want an elder relative in a hospital setting, but if that's to occur, you might see like the long game this week ahead is like, oh, and that means I might be coming into some of my family money from my family member who's not doing well. This is a powerful money reset that's going to really launch into place the week of January 6th and 9th, that kind of thing. That's going to reset your financial frontier in a similar way to 1994-95, if you were alive and can remember that. And it could change your job, your vocation, your career, your money-making endeavors, the whole gamut. And also it's extremely powerful for the complete relinquishment of oral addictions and anything that goes through the nose and the mouth, right? Like profound. And so maybe it's even just as simple as you're going to do dry Jan this week and you realize that doing dry Jan is going to change your life, and that's your pivotal decision. I want you to think about pivotal, fated, destined decisions that align you with your true calling or your best path possible. With the sun in the middle of this and ruling the 9th house, some of you definitely want to move or travel extensively or take pilgrimages to foreign lands and shores. And somehow by traveling or moving to a distant shore, you might come into some more financial success. I mean, somehow, some way that seems to align. There might be a code for that in the sky too. You want to do things financially in a way you've never done before. The creation god Otter is here as well. We'll dive more into that when we get to the week that this is exact. And that's what I've got for you. I do think that some of you are definitely looking at some health improvements beginning this week ahead and some positive shifts in the work environment as well, especially early in the week, to Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, thanks to our exalted moon here. All right. So the backdrop story for you guys, Capricorn, and we're going to start there because you are the one getting all of the action, is that there's something going on in your 12th house, which is always a challenging place because often it's very subconscious. So your dreams at night, your meditations, your own self-undoing, or connections to communication with people from far off distant shores and lands, right? And that's the backdrop story that really starts to open up doors of your attention. Let's just call it your attention on the 29th. On the 29th, Monday the 29th. It starts on the 28th, but the 29th through to the end of the week, really, and through till Thursday. And confusing or difficult or hard would be the key words, conversations. They may involve also difficult circumstances regarding delays or constriction around travel, and also difficult conversations with siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, and or people in your local neighborhood. Now, because Mercury is in the house of distant shores and far off lands, and the North Node represents the foreigner, there also can be like these conversations with people in foreign places or from foreign nationalities or countries, and it looks like it's confusing or it's difficult or it's disappointing. Those are words I could apply to that, perhaps. And siblings in general, but a sibling one younger is going to maybe be a part of a conversation that is more difficult than most conversations. And that's what I have for that. You are the epicenter of a massive change. You are going to reboot, restructure, and rebegin your life completely. And you don't even know how and where and when, but it will show up. Trust me, this is replaying 1994-95 in your life. This is Mars and Venus and the Sun triple conjunction here, just like it was back then. That's not here yet. That starts next week. We'll be doing a deeper dive video next week on this. But in the meantime, what I can say to you is that Mars is trying to get you to take an action or make a decision, but you know you won't be able to fully flesh it out until March, but you're making the moves towards that decision. He's tired. He wants to be born again, and he's helping you make decisions and take actions. And those actions and decisions, you might have a real clarity around New Year's Eve, like December 31st, January 1st, January 2nd, a real pivotal moment of, oh my God, yeah, that's the direction I need to go start navigating. And I got to steer the Titanic here in a new direction. And Mars is particularly interested in you making money. He's the ruler of your career gains and your income that comes from a career. And he's also particularly concerned that you find a place to live that you really like. And those two decisions are beginning to pivot next week, or the 29th to the January 4th. And look for clues, right? Look for clues that that's happening. Although you may not demonstrate the outcome until mid-February and or mid-March. And Venus is following up, and she's pretty precisely conjunct the North Node on January 2nd, 3rd. So as you go into the first 3 days of January, you're going to notice that there's something going on here where you're also noticing that life should be full of pleasure and joy and you know, getting some of the things you actually desire in life, right? What do you want? What do you desire? You're in a simulation matrix. You may as well get what you want, right? You got to acknowledge that there's things in life that are worth having. She wants you to find better success in your career and more joy in your romantic or sexual life. And she's going to help you do both of those over the course of the next 2 years. This is a kind of construction too for a destined fated birth of a grandchild coming through in the next couple of years, but you may see evidence for that, information or news about that even sooner, maybe by the end of this week ahead. You want to do you in a new way. Quo or is here. You want to break the creation God rules. You want to do something that no one's done before. You want to make a new you, right? Cap Sun, a new career, Cap Moon and purpose, a new home, an emotional set point, and Cap Rising. Anything about your identity in the simulation wants a brand new, never done this way before, reset button. The North Node in the third house can bring you increase of success, and you see the early signals for that if you are doing writing, communicating, marketing, and selling professionally. There's also a bit of an upstart energy here if you wanted to start your own business in any of those fields in this week ahead. Whether it's officially your business or you want to make a hobby into a livelihood, a lot of Capricorn people will find that a total yes. And the turning point energies of decisions and actions are showing up this week ahead. And the Sun is a ruler of your 8th house of chunky money, inheritance money. On we go, investments in the markets. And you might be also looking at how to reset that in a pivotal new way that brings you greater fruitful financial success. Again, this is pivots of decision-making and subtle actions. A lot won't really fulfill itself with Venus's agenda till mid-February, when she's visible, and Mars mid-March. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well. Where do we go from here, right? This is our story. I'm one of you. I'm rising. First of all, let's talk about the hard conversation, right? Somebody here is going to be communicating with you. I don't know. This could be a sibling one older. This could be a friend, a benefactor, an ally. This could be somebody in your collegiate sector of colleagues and people you work with. And so Mercury is the communication, right? Mercury is the news or the information. It happens to be in a square to Saturn in a money house, and also Neptune. It can be some disappointment or a bubble bursting through in user information or conversations connected to finances and career gains. However, it could also be a difficult conversation about money connected to someone you would consider a friend. And there can be some confusion, uncertainty, or foggy communication where you really aren't quite getting all of the details you need. A friend wants you to lend them money and you don't know exactly what the circumstances are. You should check it out. You might also find that your own financial income from your career gains in your life, in your work or whatever you're doing, you might get some information about suppression or contraction or difficulty or confusion around money. I'll use me as an example. Now, a YouTube channel's got roughly the same amount of income, but I've had this catastrophic subs dump and it doesn't make any sense because I can see how many people subscribe, but then somewhere there's a bunch of subs being deleted, right? So I'm pretty sure that that's what that is. Now, I don't know if I get information about it, just confuses me more this week ahead from like YouTube or something or what, but there's something like that happening here too. And I want you to think of friends, allies, and benefactors. That's what Mercury is up there. Which friends, allies, and benefactors might want to help you with professional directions? Just make sure that you can get the details because they may be giving you a vague idea or speaking vaguely. You need clarity and you need to ask for clarity and precision information before making a choice around money and career gains and work situation. Now, what I can say about this is that we see you are resetting here like 1994-95, your 12th house. That's not really fully reset. It's getting ready to happen the week after. We're moving into it, and there's pivotal sort of knowing what you need to do next, decisions and actions, because you want to find more pleasure, more enjoyment, more fun, and more prosperity in the 12th house, says Venus. And you want to do it in a way that no one's done before, says quote R. What is the 12th house? It has many meanings. First of all, it is international revenue, borderless income, digital money, especially connected to money you make because you live in a foreign country, money that you make because you're traveling to a foreign country, money that you make because you have foreign customers and clients, you work for an international firm, any of those things. And you want this to be more enjoyable, more fun, more luscious, and more juicy. That's the best way I can put it, luscious and juicy. And it could indicate as well a turning point that wants to be beginning to be seen and some decisions and actions that be taken to allow for that. It's a powerful combination for quitting an addictive substance or a habit. It's a powerful combination for planning a pilgrimage or long-term trip or even a relocation abroad. And it's a powerful, juicy turning point that could also open up some doors here of enlightenment or spiritual awakening in a new and fresh way that's never been done before. And certainly with Venus here, you could come into guides, mentors, or teachers or spiritual teachers who are female that are really going to help you move forward here. Same applies to addictions, moving forward here. Now, Venus does rule your 4th house of land, property, and real estate, and especially the first 2 or 3 days of the week. We got a lot of lunar support for some shift of location where you live, maybe a new rental property opportunity. Will you move yet? No, I'd say like you need mid-February for the move to show up, or even into March for the actual move to show up, because that's when Venus and Mars are visible. But it's more like planning behind the scenes a new place you wish to move to because you've got some new information coming. Now, you have to wait till Mercury moves into the 12th house, say on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, for the information to apply to this time, but you'll know what I mean when it happens. You might have sudden surprising information about a property, a land, a real estate move, opportunity, rental, buy, sell, things like that. The North Node wants to give you worldly financial success. And if you've been doing the sky right, Aquarius, you've increased your pocketbook, wallet, savings, money story since the node moved here in January of 25. You should have gotten more money. If you didn't do it very well. Maybe greed got in the way. Maybe ambition overtook you. In the meantime, Saturn was trying to get you to do it in a disciplined, long-term, strategic way with, stable gains. And that's been true ever since the beginning of 25, and is still true until mid 2026. And with this energy being awakening the North Node, here this week ahead, Venus says, can you apply yourself to oral pleasures that are fun but not harmful? Venus says, can you find your way in like loving the way you make money and finding yourself extremely profitable in a resilient and lasting way that is destined and fated. And then Mars says, what actions and decisions do you need to make it come true? Mars rules your house of marketing, selling, teaching, writing, and communicating. Venus rules your house of book publishing deals, etc. Funny enough, my agent texted me today, my agent who I haven't produced anything for. We have this book proposal and I committed to doing it with her. And so that's the story that is seed is planting. I'm recording this on Friday, right? So the energy is building for what I'm talking about next week. I'm recording this for my Patreon community. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I think that's all I have for you, but I think I can see relocations professionally, book publishing success, international success, moving to foreign countries, traveling abroad, changing your work and work routines to be more joyful. At the same time, you end up more prosperous. There's some sea change going on here. You'll see what I mean as we get into next year's story. And if you can, you might compare to 94, 95. That's when I started my psychic readings business with people from around the world. I had a long distance readings business and left a local journalistic newspaper story. So that did work for me back then. How was your 94, 95 timeframe? All right, finally, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. You're going to be experiencing confusion around your career path, your public reputation, or difficult conversations with a father figure or authority figure this week ahead. This is Mercury in your 10th house squaring you, Saturn, and Neptune. You're trying to solidify your visions, goals, and dreams for your life. You're also dissolving and you're also concretizing at the same time. How do you do both at the same time? It's been a hard job, but you're wanting to dissolve. Master, how do you carve a perfect elephant every time? I simply carve away all that is not elephant. Right. And so that's Neptune dissolving, eroding what isn't true for you. Well, Saturn is trying to bring into form and concretize what is true for you. And so you're kind of in this weird limbo right now because these two planets don't really get juiced up fully in a conjunction till next year in February. And so you're really at the tail end of a story that's lasted since 2023 March of dissolving one part of your reality of who you are so that something new can become emergent, It reminds me of a toy. When I was a kid, there were these ice cream cones, and inside was it was on a plastic stick with a little, like a cartoon character embossed in plastic. And when you finished your ice cream cone at the end, or like a popsicle or whatever it was, you see what was in after you dissolve the popsicle or the ice cream. You'd see what was left standing. That's what you're doing. You're dissolving parts of your identity or your career or your reality or emotional complexes, so you can see what's left standing when it's over. And by next February, by coming up, you're done for good. Right? This story won't come back in this lifetime. So this hard conversation, it's not your problem. Someone else is talking to you. Is it the boss? Is it your spouse who acts like the boss? Is it like some authority figure that you look up to? And not only is it a difficult conversation or information, but it's also confusing and quite uncertain. And because of the Neptune factor, I wouldn't sign a professional agreement at this time. I would wait. I would think that you're not seeing the details and I would hold off. And Mercury rules the spouse in your chart. So maybe some spousal conversations that are quite difficult and challenging. Maybe you're being confronted by a spouse. You've got a backbone to stand up for yourself here. I think you're in the stronger position, spouse or long-term committed love person. Now we move into the idea of the stellium in the house of windfalls, pennies from heaven. And it goes back to 1995, but it's really powering up the week after this one. So we're in the beginning, early runway. Venus can bring you a lot of stuff here, but she can bring you enjoyment of the work you do, prosperity from the work you do, fun and frolicking with colleagues, coworkers, and friends, and prosperity and wealth from all the work you do, as well as Mars can help you take action and be passionate about the work you do because it's the gains of the 10th. It's some money you make from that. Yet we're having a cosmic, karmic, powerful reset button. Sun is here ruling, of course, your, 6th house of work and livelihood. So the first part of the week is going to be Mars, epicenter New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and the day after. Mars is going to flow to the North Node. And this is you getting ready to make destined pivotal changes in your life. And you might get some kind of push or shove or help or support from a sibling, one older, from, friends, benefactors, and allies. maybe especially because you're going to get some information coming through here as well from those people on around Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that allows you to begin to form directional decisions and slow change pivots in the way you make money in this life. Now, you don't make money, okay, you're retired. In the way that you experience success professionally, and it also should involve remuneration, money of some sort. And because with Venus here, she is like the lord of or the ruler of your third house, there could be a pivot to marketing, selling, and teaching and writing professions or digital online social media world stuff in order to affect this change, especially on, Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday when we have a lunation that's powerful here flowing to Venus. That's the exalted moon. And you may see some evidence for that. Mars would love you to write a book. Venus said, write the book, and Mars says, publish the book, and you've got 2 years to do it. Now, did you have any inklings in 94, 95 around the same themes? Okay. And what pivotal role did siblings older than you, particularly one older, but all siblings in general, maybe play a maximal role in changing your life at that age or at the 94, 95 timeframe? And also, because we can get windfalls here, pennies from heaven, Venus is a money goddess. Mars is an action god, and Jupiter is in the house of winning money, especially gambling or lottery tickets. Well, I'm not going to promise you a rose garden. This could open up a door of some unexpected financial gain that surprises you. Thank you, Mercury. I thank you, Uranus on the Well Star, and looks like a win, a financial win. Is it going to happen next week? It can happen anytime before mid-February with Venus's support. But you see the decisions and the pivots and the grinding towards that lucky direction by the end of this week ahead. All righty. And that's what I got for you. Sometimes I have an outro. Sometimes I don't. Let me see. I just had the family over for Christmas dinner last night. My kids and all of that was fun. What can I tell you guys about that might be entertaining or interesting for you? Outros of stories. Timing. Timing is everything. Sometimes I go, why am I teaching astrology? Maybe you guys are codependent on sky stories, right? To time your best life. But I'm always reminded of that. I have a great example is, when Saturn entered my second house in 2023 and is leaving full time forever for 30 years, that was a timing marker for saving more money and also structuring my money differently. And the impact of by 2024, within a year, was a corporation structure that allowed me to retain more of my earnings. In Canada's very high tax structure, I'd be paying 60% of my money to the government, at a personal tax rate. And so then the reason I'm bringing this up is that Saturn will be moving into my writing house. Chiron, the wound of writing, will be leaving my writing house in 2026 and 27. And that Saturnian ingress into the writing house is a divine timing marker for having the agent Eileen begging me to write a book proposal for the astrology book, bless her soul, patient girl, ever since 2023. No, she met me in 2024, July of 24. She came into my life, and she's been waiting this long because I can't. Saturn is grinding to make money and save money, and taking time out to write won't work. And even a girlfriend named Renee said to me, how can you write the book and not stay on your prosperity course? I could do it because Saturn is moving into writing, and he'll be there for 3 years until 2028. The writing code is upon me. Neptune means visionary and imaginal powers. Neptune moves into Aries as well, my third house. And so what I want you to know, a chironic wound is tiptoeing out this summer and leaving for good next year. And I've been wounded in the writing house since 2019. So what I'm trying to say here for the outro is timing is everything. And I know that's an expression, but nothing matters more in astrology. If I was trying to, for Eileen, do the book proposal so we could pitch it to the editor so I could write the book, and I was trying to do that in the energy of Saturn in the 12th house from my third, but also not being able to help me out for discipline because he's busy making money, I would have been timing my best life wrongly. I would have been pushing against the stream of energy and the direction it's going. So in your own life, use astrology that way. I was more surrendered to not finishing up the book proposal or getting it going with Eileen, because I could see why it was going against the story that was already happening in the chart. But there would be an opening in 2026, 2 years after she contacted me, for me to fulfill her desire, for me to create a book proposal with her. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and get that all signs bundle or the individual signs. I think I'm going to keep the price where it is in January to honor people's economic distress. There's not many people out there are not making ends meet. And if this divine timing tool can help you, I'd appreciate, I would love to be of support with that kind of tool. It's like a reading with me, but not a reading with me. All right. Take care, everyone. And I'll see you in the next video on Thursday. I'm not sure what the drop will be yet. I think it's going to be about the Venus-Mars conjunction, and I'm interviewing a guest astrologer who is an expert at this. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.